So, welcome back to Pon's Tinkering Garage, and today we're gonna continue and finish Project Toby, the Symphony of Shape Keys Part 2. It's gonna be Part 2. In Part 1, we talked about how the common practice of driving corrective shape keys works and why I don't like that very method. In this part, I'm going to talk about the magic behind the automatic switchbone method. So, in case you don't remember about the automatic switchbone method, so basically this is what it does. So, let's say I'm just gonna get my FK control upper, which controls the upper body, and we're gonna take that clavicle one, and we're gonna rotate it up, and as you can see that as we move it up, you will see that some of these switch bones, this one and that one, will move automatically as well. So that is the automatic switch bone method that I'm going to talk about. Also, I'm going to show you the remaining two symphonies, that is the Symphony of the Torso and the Symphony of the Leg. So let's get started. First, the magic. Well, just like any magic behind all great things in the world, once you know what it actually is, it's actually pretty simple. What makes it so great and special is that simple thing being applied ruthlessly. I'm about to show you the magic, but truthfully, once you figured it out, it might not be that surprising at all. So yeah, with that in mind, here is the magic that makes all the automatic switchbone method possible. So if we select any one of these switch bones, so I'm going to select that one. So, and then go to bone constraints. We will see that the magic is this one, the transformation bone constraint. And ta-da! I know that for some people it might seem anticlimactic and not very surprising at all. And for some people, I know what you're thinking. Well, what is transformation bone constraint? Or rather, what exactly does it do? Remember in the last part, I did a quick demonstration about how to create a driver for a shape key. So basically, when we rotate a target bone in a certain direction, that rotation will drive or change the value of a targeted shape key, right? This transformation bone constraint basically does exactly the same thing, but without having to deal with creating the syntax or expressions, right? So let's take a look on a simple example. I guess this one will suffice. The hand shape key, the shape key hand twist L, right? So inside its transformation, as we can see that the target bone is this one, control hand L, which is this one, right? As you can see, it's control hand L. So, and so I know that I know that for most people this looks kind of daunting, right? But here is a simple way to understand it, right? As we can see that below this main tab, we get this another two tabs, right? Which is map from and map to, right? So inside each, there are another three subtabs: location, rotation, scale, as well as in map to, you get the location, rotation, and scale. And yeah, that's all about it. With the switchbone method that I only use map from rotation to map to location, right? You see, as you can see from this one, we got rotation and to location. We can check another switch bones. Let's take a look at this one, and as we can see that it's mapped from rotation and to map to location, right? Or probably this one, same thing, rotation to location, right? So, and that's all I get, rotation to location. And why is that? Well, because that's what I need. The rotation of the target bone drives the location of the switch bone, right? So as we can see that, let's go back to our hand twist, shaky hand twist. So as we can see, this is how the setting reads, right? So when we rotate this bone, control hand L, in its y-axis, ranging from 0 to positive 135 degrees, it will then move the location of this switch bone, which is this one, again, in its y-axis, ranging from 0 to 0.01 meter, which basically is 1 centimeter. So now let's give it a try. So if we select this control hand and we open the bone properties, and if we rotate this one, the rotation Y, and if you rotate this in the Y direction, as you can see that it will slowly, let's repeat that, as we slide this up, so we can see that it will drive that switch bone up as well until it reaches 135, and it will stop moving. And yeah, that's it. As you can see, 135, and it will move 1 centimeter. So basically this one square represents 1 centimeter, right? So yeah, that's it. Okay, now you know what is transformation constraint and what it does. Now the question remains, why, right? Sure, now you might be thinking, okay, the transformation constraint is definitely easier to do than making up a syntax, right? So, but so far, the advantage doesn't seem like much because it does basically the same thing, right? Yeah, sure. We don't have to create a syntax for this, but that's all about the advantage, right? So, well, yes, if a simple movement is the only thing that we are dealing with, the thing is, the hand twist is rather simple because it just requires one movement, which is a twist, right? But if we select another other switch bones, as we can see here, you will get this one is made of two transformation constraints, and some of them, this one is 3, and this one might be the most complex ones because it's made of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's made of 8 transformation constraints, right? And so yeah, another great advantage of transformation constraint is that we can keep stacking them, you know? We can do as many as we need. We can do that with the syntax method. We can have multiple syntax and just, so let's get it out here, and you cannot just, you only have this one line, so we can have multiple syntax and just combine all of them later. We are literally stuck with this one line of expression, which apparently actually is limited to 256 characters, and that's just pretty limited, right? And you might have noticed it by now that if we go back to our post mode, that this eye icon is purple, meaning that it has a driver on its own as well. If we try to edit this driver, you can see that I use Control Shape key, which is the main switch bone in the middle, which is this one, to turn on and off the automation. So if I switch, as you can see that this one has a location changed from 0 to negative 1 centimeter. If we turn this back on to 0, as you can see that the automation now turn off, right? And yeah, so if I switch this bone, this shape key bone off, all of the transformation constraints that all of these contain will be turned off as well, meaning that it's no longer moving automatically. So right now, if I try to move the clavicle up and down, you will see that the control shape key no longer move automatically, right? So yeah, I have to, if I want to move the shape key, I have to rotate the bone and I have to pick this one up and I have to do it manually, old school style, right? So yeah, so we cannot do that turn on and off with the syntax method because we cannot use drivers inside drivers, if that makes any sense, right? So yeah, I mean, like, technically speaking, when it comes to drivers, simply put, the common practice which drives the shape key with the control bone directly will only give us two layers, right? First is the shape key, and the second is the control bone. The control bone drives the shape key, and that's it. So if we want to control how a certain control bone react with a certain shape key, we're going to have to do it through the syntax or expressions. The more complex a movement is, the longer the syntax will be. I have been playing with syntax myself for some time by now, and even I wouldn't recommend using it for complex stuff, right? Meanwhile, with the switchbone method, we have three layers. First is the shape key, the second is the switchbone, and the third is the actual control bone itself. So the control bone drives the switchbone, and the switchbone drives the shape key, right? So if we want to control how a certain control bone react with a certain shape key, we can just do so through the switchbone, which lies exactly in the middle, without having to deal with the syntax, or at least very complex ones. Sure, it goes the same way that the more complex a movement is, the more the number of transformation constraints will be. But well, again, it's much more manageable than creating complex syntax, right? So that extra layer is basically the magic. Because of it, we get more controls over the shape keys in a simpler and also a more visual manner. So yeah, to recap all of it, here's a summary of the advantages of using the switchbone method. First, we can see them working in real time without having to go back and forth to our 3D model to check whether or not the drivers are working properly or not. So for example, if I move this if I move this clavicle bone again, we will see that the switch bone, this one and that one, moves automatically in real time, and we can see them directly in post mode, right? Second, we can turn them on and off easily. It's useful when we got a problem with a switch bone with more stacks of transformation constraints, right? So the switch bone by now is working because it's moving automatically, right? Sure, but at a certain time, it may work in an unexpected manner. It's gonna be easy to fix if for this case like the hand twist which only have one like one transformation constraint. Uh, but if we have like like this one which has 8 stacks of them, it's gonna be hard to identify which transformation constraint causes the problem. So by being able to switch each one of them on and off, we can single out the cause of the problem pretty easily. And third, we can even further modify the transformation constraint by putting drivers on top of it. I switch this bone off and now the automation is turned off, right? So, and there's so much more we can do with it. I mean, another example of a driver that I use on top of the transformation constraint is this one. So this one, right? As you can see that right here in transformation IK torso 45, you would notice that, sorry for that, I use a driver on the influence input, right? And if you go to edit, it's hooked to the FK IK switch that we have talked about. So yeah, I mean like there is a lot more slots in here, and you can put drivers on each one of them. You can even put drivers on the mode, and which is very convenient. And the fourth, we can keep stacking the transformation constraints until we're satisfied with the result. It's almost like bricklayering. It's quite simple, and we can just keep doing it until the desired shape of the wall or whatever you're doing with the bricks is achieved. And yeah, that's 4 reasons, big reasons why I choose the switchbone method over the common practice. So yeah, now it comes the time to show you the remaining 2 symphonies, the Symphony of the Torso and the Symphony of the Legs. These 2 are much harder to do than the previous 2, simply because the movement of the torso and the legs are much more complex. So it takes a lot longer to create the right stack of transformation constraints, right? So so let's go to my dope sheet. And so, okay, this is the Symphony of the Torso. For this one, we can enjoy it from all angles because the torso moves literally in all directions. So I'm gonna show it from the front side first, and let's put the mid one. So yeah, let's hide that so that you can see it a little bit better. So yeah, so I'm gonna show it from the front side first. I'm gonna turn off the wireframe so you can see it a little bit better. And yeah, so this is how it looks like. And yeah, so again, the next one is basically the same thing, but with the arm movement from the previous symphony being incorporated. And for this one, let's take a look at the back so that we can have a little bit difference. And yeah, so here we go. And yeah, this one is uh, the neck side, right? So yeah, which we can see better from the side or the front. So let's so yeah, so let's probably, yeah, we can see that. Let's probably just hide the shape keys for now. And yeah, so let's repeat a little bit back. And yeah, that's 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 it. That's beautiful, isn't it? Um, so yeah, I mean, like from the back, I particularly like that thing. That you see, what's that? That fat from the waist that creates this very nice curve around the that around the waist, the back of the waist, and yeah, I mean, like that creates a really nice curve, and I think that's one of the things that people kind of forget whenever they kind of bend the waist, that thing, and also that thing as well. So that kind of stretch uh, around the opposite side of the bend. So yeah, and from the front, this is actually what I like the most is this part. You see that fat distribution change when we rotate the hip to the side. You can We can see that we can almost feel even the ACES point being uh, moving beneath, and of course you can see that as well from that one, but it's a little bit more clearer. It's a little clearer in this part. You get that nice uh, squash around that, and yeah, when it's stretched to the other side, you get that nice hollow curve right here instead. So yeah, that's it for the third symphony, right? And yeah, so now let's move on with the fourth and the last symphony, the Symphony of the Leg. For this one, we can also enjoy it from all angles, but I particularly like to see it from the side because it will show the deformation a little better and also a little bit clearer as well. And a spoiler alert, you see, because of the nature of the leg's movement, the symphony for some will look more in the erotic side. Sorry for that, but that's fine. So yeah, here we go. Let's select the fourth symphony, and we're gonna run it from there. So yeah, so here we go. So yeah, and past this point, around the 456, uh, it goes in the realm of pure testing because I have to test how the IK legs will work with the torso rotation. So we will see some flying around, and that's fine. And here we go. And yeah, that's it. That looks awesome, isn't it? Uh, so um, so let's give it a play one more time. Just kind of see it again in full. So And yeah, so that just gets better, right? So here's the thing I like about the leg part, and the one thing I think is important, the formations, right? So from the side, I particularly like that stretch happening when you rotate the leg forward. So this is the thing. So that line running from the bottom to the uh, to the knee, and yeah, I mean like that stretch is just, you can see that stretching, it changes form from pretty flat, you cannot see the line, and now when you kind of rotate it forward, you start seeing that thing underneath, and that's just great. So just like earlier, we can almost even feel the stretch, right? And how the muscle is kind of sliding around. So yeah, so we can actually see the stretch a little better in this testing part, right? So yeah, this part, and where the thigh remains straight, but the torso starts to bend. So we get that nice stretch at the back, right here, and a squash at the front side, and the muscle, you see that, you might see it a little better with the wireframe turn off, and let me do that real quick so that I can see so that part, right, you can see that how the stretch and the squash happens at the same time, and and how the muscles are kind of it's kind of redistributed as we bend at the hip, right? So yeah, that's how it looks without the wireframe, and yeah, that's just great. Um, and yeah, so from the front side though, this is actually the one part that always confused me about the inner part of the thigh. As we can see around, all right, this part, all right, I know that that's a little bit erotic. So around this part, as you can see that we got that stretch string popping around here, which is basically the sartorius muscle. But when the thigh is back down like that, and we move it to the side, we don't see that string anymore, right? We don't see that anymore. Just that string is gone, right? Instead of a stretch, we get this very very round volume around the inner thigh, and if there is a stretch, it happens around here, as you can see, that which creates this more of a hollow triangle area right here. And yeah, that's just one of the things that confuse me whenever I kind of draw or sculpt the inner thigh, because it kind of what's on the surface kind of changes depending on the direction of the thigh, where the thigh is pointing at. And now that I kind of figured it out, it feels kind of great, right? So yeah, and there we go, right? That's all 4 symphonies of shape keys that I have so far. Overall, I've touched almost all areas of the body, and all areas of the body there is to create corrective shape keys for. There are 2 areas that I haven't touched though, and that is the fingers and also the face. I cannot promise anything, but that might be the topic for the next video, right? Okay, that's it for now. I will see you later.